Okay, if you want to go ahead and get started, thank you all for coming today. We all gathered relatively early and had a chance to enjoy our lunch ahead of time. So it is right at the noon hour, and I will turn it over to David Koontz, who requested this meeting.
Okay, so I have several things on here, but I've invited my two counterparts here. Amy Jones, the risk manager, and Mr. Mason, Justin as the building department guy. Hey, Coon has brought up questions about the tree policy and how we as a city do trees. And so I wanted them to kind of help me explain that to you. I want Michelle to be our new tree expert. So that you kind of understand storm related tree stuff. So could we each play a little role in it? And we're trying to get everybody consistent and on the same page. So events like we had the other day where you have a tree fall. If you go to Leela Street, I think that's West Leela Street over there, where you had one fall on one side of the road, across the road, into somebody else's yard. The current policy, and y'all jump in here, is that the street department comes, flags the thing off. No lines were involved in this one, I don't believe. But we're gonna cut the tree off the right of way. It's a right of way tree between the sidewalk and the street. We're gonna cut the tree. We're gonna dig the stump up because it's on the city right of way. And we're gonna cut the tree off into the next yard up to the right of way edge. So in other words, if that tree falls and hits your house, we're gonna cut it at the right of way, and the part in your yard and on your house will be the responsibility of the homeowner. All right, so we'll fix the sidewalks back. Both sidewalks got messed up in this case. We'll haul the stump off, we'll dig it up, haul it up, had to have a low board for this one. And, but then the rest of it will be your tree to cut up and dispose of and do that. Now, if you get a contractor to do it, then it is responsibility of the contractor, must be licensed in the city, to cut that tree and remove that tree. They can't put it out for the street department to pick up. Code requires them to haul that tree off. All right? Am I right? Anything y'all want to add to that?
I think you nailed it pretty much from the.
I think the issue that we're having, that we have some concerns with, is the electricity department. And so they don't always do that. And I would ask you to get their policy on that part from them.
I can add that to
instead
this.
of me.
Will you also send me, for the purposes of the minutes and filing those, would you send me this ordinance, and then that way they can all be filed together?
The ordinance on,
What you just described.
I don't know that there is an ordinance. This is just a policy.
Do you have a copy of that? Is it in
Who
writing?
made the policy?
Yeah.
We'll go back to my risk manager for that. This
Yeah,
is-
that. I don't know that we have a current handwritten or typed out policy on removing trees. It's definitely a case by case thing, but by and large, what you described is what
Yeah.
we try to stick to. I mean,
So that seems like issue number one. Do you all
This-
agree that we need to have something in writing?
Yeah, this kind of goes back to, you remember my issue when me and Alan had the
Sure.
heated discussion on, and I kept being told, well, that's city ordinance, that's city policy. Well, now you're saying there's not one. So
well,
my point is, and I don't want to bring that up again. I think
No,
that
I
that's
don't
kind of,
think
we've
so.
been there and done that.
sure.
But to me, a situation like that particular situation, where it would have taken probably 15, 20 minutes, 30 to just clean up some debris, you know, it's like, what would it hurt? And that over the weekend, side note here, that you can get involved in, because I didn't know it was you, Michelle got, by mistake, the phone call. But I got a guy, and I went by and looked at it. There is a dead tree on the side of the road right on the corner of his property, dead. Old crap growing out of it. I mean, it's like it's getting ready to fall. It is a definite health hazard. If somebody's walking by, a kid's riding by on their bicycle, and that tree falls, it'd kill them. Could we not make a resident, hey, you got a health hazard here, you got a safety issue, you gotta take this tree down. Can we not make them take it down?
Is it on private property?
Huh?
It's on private property in a right of way.
Right?
Justin?
But if it could kill somebody.
Private property, the city don't have any ordinance that addresses trees at all. The only ordinance we have that addresses trees is a park tree and a street tree, which is in the public right of way.
I understand that. What I'm saying is can we, as a council, adopt one? To where if it's a safety issue, that there's a chance this tree could fall and hit a kid riding a bicycle, kill them, fall on cars, whatever. If it's determined to be a safety issue, we can ask that resident or tell that resident, you've got so many days to get rid of this tree or we'll, you know, you can be fined. Because it's a safety issue. I know if my son was playing next to that tree in our yard, it could fall in, right now you don't know which way it's gonna fall. It could fall in the yard, it could fall on cars or a kid. And this guy has really he told the guy, I will pay for it if you'll let me pay. He went, no, I'm not cutting my tree down. I'll cut it down when I get ready to cut it down. He's been really that way about it.
And it's been more than a year, according
Yeah.
to the gentleman who called me last week.
So anyway, I feel like I've got off track, but since we're talking about trees.
Well, no, I think that's actually a really good thought, and we have the right people in the room to help guide and direct this conversation. I would ask that you all do some research to see if there are other cities that have a similar ordinance to what we're requesting, and if we can then reconvene and then consider that for what it might look like, and if we can move forward with it, or if that is impossible, because I know that will also require our general counsel to weigh in on that as well. And we will have to determine or decide if that's something we want to endeavor to do. Would you agree to that, Mr. Oliver, Mr. Griffin? Yes?
Yeah.
I mean, that can be our next thing, but David, we're just beginning this discussion, but I think that's already action item number one.
Yeah.
That we need to get to the bottom of.
Right.
So,
And then, like I say, I think the other issue is the electricity department and their policy varies somewhat from ours, where they're not cleaning up storm debris. Don't make that part of the official record. I would like you to ask them their policy on that, to understand that, because, you know, we've run into that issue before. We had a ditch last year that, they had cut debris in and left it. So, you know,
Is that the one
yeah.
yeah.
So I don't think, the street department is not gonna go on somebody's private yard and clean their storm debris out. I mean, we're, obviously can't do that, but, you know, what their policy is worth looking into if we wanna understand the whole picture here of what's going on, because, you know, we're working on our stuff on our right of ways, and we do that, but if we get stuff in the yard, if they put it on the curbside, we'll pick it up, but, you know, do we want to pick up the stuff that others put on the curbside? Not contractors, were prohibited, they're supposed to do it, but.
right,
that'll-
but city departments that are also involved in the process.
Yeah,
Okay.
that needs to be coordinated, that's my point. Anything y'all want to add?
Can't think of anything.
All right. Anything else about trees?
Well, it sounds to me like we definitely need to adopt some sort of policy or ordinance for the city to avoid all this, you know, stuff like
Yeah,
any
it's-
misunderstandings and
Are you talking about the debris too?
yes,
All of it.
all that. Because, I don't know, it comes across like, you know, I know that discussion we got into, well, that's their issue. No, it's their issue. Well, it's not ours because we got a policy. We just don't do that. And it's like it was very confusing when I thought, well, just out of courtesy, it won't take but a few minutes to pick it up, throw it on the truck. I mean, can we not do that, you know? So-
Well, and I think one thing Mr. Coons was talking about, I think from the street department side, the right of way is what your guys are there, that's their obligation, is to clean and clear the right of way. Anything past that, they're not obligated to do that. And there's some liability things that go into that as far as getting in somebody else's yard and
Yeah,
doing
oh,
different things.
yeah, I don't propose getting in somebody's yard.
Sure, no, and we deal with that I deal with that on a daily basis, so it's especially after storms. And electricity department is completely different. And there's two different trains of thought on that. And they are going in yards and they're going down easements instead of right of ways. And so,
Now, I'm talking about if, not put a truck in somebody's yard, but if it's debris that you can easily reach and get, I mean, you know,
The limbs that they cut in the middle of somebody's yard because the power line goes across it. Theirs is totally different. They have to follow the power lines, which don't follow
They're
necessarily.
different, but if those limbs fall, we need to pick them up. Right now, they don't pick them up.
Fall, or if they cut them out of the trees.
If they cut them out of the lines, they're gonna leave them where they're laying.
If it's
I
planned,
know a lot of people have complained
they'll
about
pick
that.
them up. If it's the routine trail,
Routine
tree-
maintenance.
routine maintenance, they'll pick them up, but if it's storm damage, they leave them.
well, that makes sense.
There's one on 47 out there going toward Old Hickory
Doesn't make
on the left where one.
But I'm saying if we're doing cutting limbs to get them off power lines, and we leave that debris in somebody's yard just cause we got a policy that we're not going in their yard, well, you just, I mean, you know, if you
If
can
there's
reach
a
over and
ditch,
get
it's
it,
gonna
get
be
it, you
left.
know?
Always.
Yeah, the one on 47 is interesting to watch, because it's a big pile of stuff that's big stuff, but it's in the yard, and so I can't get it. Electricity, I'm assuming they'll come back, I don't know. But,
Where is it on 47,
you know,
David?
when you're going out 47 towards St. Florence.
Yes, right there on the
left
corner where that
Oh,
power lines came
yeah.
down.
I know exactly where you're
It's
talking
all
about.
still laying there, it's just laying on the side of the
Way
road.
back off the road there.
Yeah.
The other issue we have often is we have a storm like that and you have a lot of the, I call them the fly-by-night guys that come in and, hey, I'm gonna cut it and put it out and the city's gonna get it. Well, guess what? You know, when you got a log the size of this table here, the city can't always get that. without
That
any-
debris laying there, it looks like that truck that goes around and picks up, got the big arm that reaches it. It could easily reach and get that and put it over in the back of the trailer, it
St.
looks like.
Florence,
Yeah.
no, it's too far off the road.
Is it?
We couldn't get it from the road.
Okay. It didn't look to me like it was about 15 feet. but-
But I mean, we didn't have anything to do with it now.
Do you guys, do you three believe there needs to be alignment between what the city does and what electricity does? Or is that, I mean, honestly,
Great question.
does there need to be alignment between those two? Because what
Yes,
you're describing is
absolutely.
siloing. We've siloed the departments and we've said, hey, they're over here and they do their own thing or whatever. So yes, we need alignment according to council people. What do you three think?
I think so.
Well,
Let
that
me
was,
give out-
that was when that deal came up, that I was talking about with me and Alan. It was like, you know, it was like, that was so frustrating for me at the time because it was like, he was going, well, that's them. And then he would say, well, no, we can't do that because that's theirs. And it was like, we're all the city of Florence. Let's just get together and figure out how we can remedy this situation. And I know you disagree because I see
Well,
it.
I agree, you have a whole area there.
Your chair is killing me.
That chair there needs to be over yonder. Everybody gets
I
in
couldn't
it
even
like-
hear him for the
Everybody
chair
likes to rock it
squawking.
when they get in it.
I like it.
Sorry.
Oh, what the-
Look at you.
I didn't
Just
even
don't
hear
blow
it.
that. Okay, thank you.
Issue that's ongoing like that. And in that situation, I mean, Billy and I and David went out there, is if we had done that, we already had 2 or 3 other people waiting. Because when you did it for him, you have to do it for us. I mean, it's ongoing, those kinds of things come up. I mean, I had a tree in a friend of mine's mother-in-law's yard, she just died. He said, well, 2 years ago, we called and told him to get the, you know, the electricity to get that off the power. There was no damn power lines there. But it'd fallen. It's gonna be thousands of dollars to clean that up. But the problem, the worst problem, is right on the corner of that lot, which I'm not sure is in their yard or somebody else's yard, is when I was out there and it's rotten up part of it, sooner or later, it's gonna fall. It's not gonna fall in there. It's big enough, it's gonna hit the house across the street.
Were you in here when I just brought up the dead tree thing?
No, sir, he was not.
Okay, I'm like, you just missed the whole discussion.
I'm sorry, but still, I mean, this had nobody not wanting to do it.
Yeah.
But we, faced that kind of thing, and when I called, it wasn't in the city's right of way, so they couldn't.
Well, that's what we're talking about. It'd be good to have a policy in writing or an ordinance to clear all this up, because we don't have one, according to Andy just a minute ago. And as far as dead trees go, that to me is a hazard. I mean, you could have a kid out there playing or whatever, it could fall on them and kill them. Could we not, as a city, have an ordinance where we go, this tree is a safety issue, you've got to take it down, we'll give you a week to get it down. And after that, you could be facing a fine. And, I mean, don't we make people, keep their yards up that are, well, why would we not do a tree if we make them mow their grass?
What about when we get into, and we've run into this before, somebody who don't have the money to take the tree down? You can't, us finding them is not gonna get the tree down, it's gonna cost them thousands of dollars to take down a tree. So we run into that a lot, not with just maintenance, but also some other things, some code issues, but how would we?
Well, good point. I don't know, but I would rather figure out how we get that tree down than your child or my child be killed by that tree. I'm seriously talking about a safety issue here. I'm not talking about a tree that's just unsightly. I'm talking about that's something that could really kill somebody. And, is that something we could assist with?
Is it,
I don't know.
could we
Yep.
expand, we do have the program through utilities where they can get help paying their utility bill. Could it be expanded to include this pending that? But that's a different question. That's got to go to utilities, we've gotta do that. First off, we need to get in alignment with the two things that we have. We need something from the city, of course, and then something from, I've got yours, Justin, thank you for bringing that and being prepared. I'll need to get the same from utilities, and we'll need to get the two working together so that there can be no more of the finger pointing or the siloing and saying, hey, no, I'm not gonna do that or whatever.
Yeah.
And understanding what you're saying, and not setting precedent, Mayor, I hear that absolutely. But we need to have something where we can bring everybody together and it not create more risk and liability for the city. So, can that be what we take away from this, please? And can we regroup and say 2 weeks with some research on other cities that do something similar with the same
Yeah, I'm
people
wondering if
in
we
here?
took a tree down for somebody, if we could just say, okay, well, we're gonna add $10, $15 a month to your utility bill to pay
For
for.
X amount of time.
Right,
And
right.
we could determine too by size of tree, if it's not 100-foot tall pine tree, it's not gonna cost as much, you could determine the pricing of what it'd take to take a tree down.
You could probably look at what kind of similar to a condemnation process for trees where we may have, if it gets to that point where the city has to actually condemn a tree, where it'd be approved by y'all and maybe assessed by urban forestry, the condition of the tree.
Yeah.
And would they have to come before us as a person like in a condemnation process too? Okay, so they would have a right to come to the council and make their case.
Their appeal.
Got it. That's an important step.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you gotta do that, just like we do with houses.
Process.
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay, so we still have some work to do on this. This is just the beginning of this discussion, and I don't feel like we have any more ability to move forward until we have more documentation in hand,
But we need to have electricity in the room.
and we need Billy here.
And, once again, I don't think it's the street department's job to clean up after them. We'll work together, but you know what I'm saying? I don't foresee us going into the side of somebody's yard and picking up a pile of stuff that they cut.
Wait, clean up after utility or the homeowner?
Electricity.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Electricity. And that's gonna be the issue, that's gonna be a possible issue.
All right.
You ready to move on?
Bill, Jimmy, anything
Yes.
else about the trees?
No.
Okay, I think we have a good start, but I'm gonna go ahead before I leave here today and ask Kathy to bring us together and add utility and Mr. Musgrove to this conversation so that we can get back together. And if engineering doesn't need to be here, they don't need to be here. Don't worry about it. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. Yes, sir, I'm ready.
Okay, we'll talk about political signs for a minute since I got that. The street department typically does not pick these up, as I mentioned in the council meeting the other night, unless we're mowing and one's laying down. If it's standing up in the middle of where we're mowing, we'll pick it up. They will go out and do a pick up signs. You wanna talk about that for a minute?
Political signs?
Yeah.
Or any
Or any
sign?
sign.
Did y'all get mine
Not
off Harold Lewis's
necessarily.
property the other day? Somebody stole my sign off
So
Harold Lewis's property.
technically, a political sign, according to the sign ordinance, is not supposed to be in the right of way or attached to any type of poles, utility boxes, anything like that. If they're in somebody, the only place you're supposed to have them is on private property. So, but even if they're in the right of way and they're in somebody's yard, usually we'll let those go. The only reason we pick those up is one, because somebody complains about them. Two, because we have to tell all these other contractors and like lawn man, people who does house washing, all this stuff. Once the right of way gets cluttered with signs, people start complaining. The political signs, we take them to the street department. We don't throw them away, so that way if whoever has them can come pick them up. But we do pick them up if we get complaints. So try to keep the right of ways clean and looking neat. But yeah, and they're down there for whoever we get to pick up. So
Just wanted to cover that, make sure we're all on the same page there. It's not always political signs, it can be pressure washing or whatever,
Yes.
so.
Well, I noticed y'all, I believe it was y'all that came mowing. I put a sign on, Harold Lewis told me to put it on his property. He owns that property by where you turn in to go to the conference center. That big square property on the right there. And I put mine way back there, and of course it was gone, and I could see where there'd been mowing there, so I didn't know if y'all got it or what. I thought it was,
Yeah.
he told me that was his property, so.
yeah, if they're on private property, we don't get them. Somebody else must have got that one. But we only do right of ways if they're on utility poles or anything like that. And we had somebody.
You were out of the right of way.
We had
I
some.
noticed you were out of the right
Yeah,
of
it
way.
was way out of the
We
way.
had somebody call the other day because we had contacted them about their signs not being allowed, and they specifically mentioned, all the politicians get to keep theirs in the right of way? Which the answer is no. We can't say, okay, well, you can't have yours, but they can all have theirs in the right of way. So we have to be fair with those.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so let's talk about landfill tipping fee increase. We are now one of the cheaper landfills in the area. We just had a tipping fee increase. This is for our private people. Citizens still do not have a cost when they bring something to the landfill. And being the lower end of it means we're getting a lot of waste from outside our area that's filling up our landfill. So my proposal would be to go from $30 to $40 a ton for the private customers. To stay the same on what we charge the city customers. In other words, our other departments like Park and Rec, Urban Forestry, Electricity Department, keep the rate the same for those guys, but go up on our private one so that we can hopefully trim off some of the volume we're getting in there.
That's why they don't pick their up, because you're charging them to bring it there.
True. But they, and the county's doing the same thing. A lot of the county's going up.
240.
I can't, probably, for the county, probably, but I don't know, so, what we're trying to do is control that out-of-town waste. And we ask the people when they come in, where's it from, and they say Florence. And, whether it is,
So could you charge, could you charge a higher rate outside the county?
we can only take waste from Florence by permit,
Florence?
Alabama.
So that's why they tell you it's Florence.
Yeah, they show you an address, and here it is, it's coming from Florence. Anyway, you don't know if it is or it isn't, they just know the system. So we end up getting a lot of stuff that's not from Florence. It's coming from, a lot of it's coming from across the river, because it's easier to bring it to Florence than it is to drive it to Cherokee at $37.50 a ton. That makes sense? Yeah. So the other issue we got going on that I'm proposing this change on is the Saturdays. Our Saturday, the landfill is open half a day from 8 to 11:45. 2 people there, one guy in the scales, one as an equipment operator. And AM's enforcing a policy very strictly of weekly cover. We cover weekly. They want you to cover at the end of the week. And the end of the week to us is Friday. So when we have a busy Saturday, which the busiest one we've had lately is 18 customers, mostly roofers, on a Saturday, it throws us out of compliance for a Monday morning inspection. And so, without spending a lot of money on overtime, without bringing people in on Saturday, I'm proposing probably to close on Saturday,
Totally.
totally close. People in Florence can take their stuff to Lauderdale County landfill, which is open same hours, half a day on Saturday, because it's permitted to accept waste from the county and the city if they had to. And then I'm proposing we also stay open late, maybe Friday nights till 5,
What are we closing now?
3:45, 3:30.
And is that the, wait, what are the normal hours of it?
7 to 3:45.
Every day, and
Every
then
day.
Friday you would stay until 5?
Friday will stay till 5. Yeah, I think that will help us maintain our compliance, be able to cover Friday afternoon with a full staff. Saturdays are not really busy for us. It's roofers. We feel like a lot of them are out of town people. And then I think this will help us get to where we can better maintain it. If people had stuff to bring, you know, they could take it to the county on Saturday, come Friday afternoons.
So I have 2 questions for you. Have you done a cost analysis on what going from 30 to 40 a ton would be?
I have not yet.
Okay, are you asking us to vote on that today
I am,
without the cost analysis?
yeah.
Can you provide that to us?
So in other words, what it's gonna generate,
Mhm.
I can. It's not really about money it's gonna generate. It's more so about preventing waste coming in that ought not be coming in and not being the cheapest landfill.
Well, and the other thing I heard you say very clearly is that it's filling up the landfill, and
Yeah.
that's a problem.
Yeah, you know, the bottom line here, what I've tried to manage this landfill to keep it open for the city only, because the longer we have this landfill, the cheaper your household garbage rates are gonna be, because when we have to pay to haul that kind of waste away, the cost per month per citizen is going way up. So if we can keep this landfill going for many years to come to get rid of our construction demolition waste, save that airspace, save it for the city of Florence people more so than anybody else, then it lasts longer and your rates stay down a little lower. The other way to offset that is the air curtain burner that we've talked about in this meeting before. So hopefully I can get this thing permitted through the summer and maybe in a fall budget, buy this machine, probably $250,000 this or so, and then we'll eliminate all wood waste coming to the Florence landfill. So in other words, storm cleanup debris, trees, limbs, anything that anybody brings no longer be accepted at the landfill. That'll save a tremendous amount of airspace. Send it out to industrial park, the Starkey Drive property, we'll burn it, incinerate it fast and quickly, very little smoke.
And so what will be left when you do that?
Demolition debris,
So you'd take that to the landfill?
that'll still go to landfill, but I can eliminate, you know, a pretty good percentage. Probably, you know, half of what comes in there now is food waste. If I can get it out of there, and we'll even start the street department picking up one, you know, we'll try to get people to segregate their piles. In other words, here's my trash, here's my old couch and my mattresses, here's my brush.
Good luck.
Yeah, and I don't expect that to be perfect, but I think it's the right step in the right direction to, once again, save that landfill space.
Well, that's definitely goal number 1, and then
Yeah.
keeping it affordable for residents, because any more than that, it could be problematic.
Yeah.
Do I hear anyone presenting that in the form of a motion?
I will.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? So that will be for $30 to $40 for private people who are coming in, not citizens and not city departments.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the rest of that will stay the same. And
Will
this'll-
you give them a notice, like a 30-day notice, and
Oh,
then will
yeah.
you send us an email talking about that?
I will, but
Okay.
this won't be real fast, because I can get with Billy and get everything written up and changed to do that properly. So,
So the stuff that's coming in, is it mainly roofing and limbs and
yeah.
trees and
You
whatever?
got a lot of waste from the, like industrial park roll-offs. It'll be odd lumber and things like that from the processes, the people that make the bales and the erosion stuff bring us stuff, and it's just a variety of things that come out there.
So where's this stuff across the street gonna go?
Uh,
Demolition?
Because of the volume of it, it's going to the county landfill.
So
Now I say that, Some of that won't be regulated, and it may go fill in a hole somewhere. Clean concrete is not a regulated solid waste, and so it can be used as a building material and put in holes. And
So all the railings,
Filler.
will those be turned around and sold?
I would think they would, I don't know what the contract was, but I would think they would sell the scrap metal straight.
Yes, we just got a phone call before this meeting, somebody was interested in them, so it's the contractor's job he was looking for a place to, get rid of them. It will not, from the conversation I heard, it won't be going to landfill.
City or county, Todd? City or county?
Yes, as you say, they're looking for somebody to, like I said, put it in a hole, for fill and so.
And you get a lot of calls like that. I suspect a lot of it will be used like that.
Okay. I don't know that the other item that you mentioned about the landfill on Saturdays is a vote.
No, I don't think so. I think it's a policy.
Yeah, but you will do then, what, a 30-day, a 60-day notice?
Yeah, I'm gonna probably do it longer than that. I'm looking like maybe at August 1st or September 1st. And give plenty of notice and tell people and make sure that everybody understands
Okay,
before we would do that.
because it will take away some people's time as well, because even adding to 5 o'clock on Friday won't make up for what was being worked on Saturday.
Right.
So you don't want any employee to be adversely affected.
Right.
Okay.
Only time I've ever gone out to landfills on Saturday though, I mean, truck, but I guess you'll have to figure out a different way to do it, won't you?
Well, you can get, it's not like the county landfill's that much further than we are in Petersville. You can go there and.
But I don't think I was aware that I could do the same thing, out there as that Florence.
It comes down to service areas, and our service area is City of Florence only, whereas the county has all of Lauderdale County and the City of Florence.
So normally I wouldn't show anything, I would just give them my address.
Driver's license, utility bill is typical.
Yeah,
You get in there with no charge.
All right.
All right.
Anything else?
Oh, yeah. Let's move on to this. This is the site for the new transfer station and start the guy property, which the street department is. So what you're seeing here is been determined to be wetlands. So this is obviously the building, I don't know how they got Northern report put there, but that's not right. But it's been determined these are hydric soils back here. This is the branch that comes through there. Not really a big deal to us, in that it didn't have, all our proposed stuff is up here. All right, so if you look, coming on down here, let's see. Wait a minute. This thing's sensitive. So what we're looking at doing, and we knew this kind of coming into it, that this had to be kind of preserved. This is the drainage branch and all this. And then this area back here is wet also. Unsure what this is gonna happen here, what's gonna happen here. It's a Corps of Engineers issue, not a ADM or EPA thing. So, the Corps regulates wetlands, and so we're in the process of doing that. Just for the record, this area right back here, this is Industrial Way. This is where the signs are put. So, right in that little corner back there.
Is that inside the lock fence?
It is, so that's gonna be a 7 to 3:30 thing on that. Any questions about that part?
So the Coca-Cola is up there on the right.
This is Coca-Cola here, this is, I think that's Tarket.
And when we drive in front of it, we're driving, I mean, if we come in, we're coming in and we park right there.
What for, yeah, this is where you park, come to the
Right.
offices.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. All right,
So that will be the fence, is what you're saying, that second entrance?
right
That
here?
will be fenced?
No, well, we're not that far yet. That'll be a
Okay.
that'll be a planning commission issue where I have to go try to get this road abandoned.
Oh,
I ain't got that far yet. But there's gates, there's fences all through here, and then the whoever's collecting the signs are putting them back here kind of behind it. Any questions?
I guess in my mind, I had this part where the brown is and the green was kind of where you were talking about. I guess I see now, but
Depending on what the Corps says, their stockpiles here, we didn't do any of this. This was done by the previous landowner. So, as well as this part. So we hadn't really done anything here. This pad was already built. This is where he did some development and dirt removal. But we're gonna see the future of this. We don't know that yet. Doesn't necessarily matter. It's parking at most, because we don't really have any plans back there. But
That's proposed, is what you're telling us.
no, this is pretty real.
But you
This
have,
is, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, this is the way it kind of lays out now. You got a wetland. He's done this. And then this is the area that is hydric soils, but we don't know what the future is. We don't know if we have to stay away from that, if we can develop it.
Got it.
Okay.
But what kind of soils hide?
Hydric.
Just got water?
Wetlands. All right, so one more thing for you while we're on a roll here. Here's the option that I'm leaning towards on proposed layout for the transfer station facility. This is from our engineering, it used to formerly CDG Engineering, who we did the contract with, is now 3-notch.
As in the number 3?
Notch.
Yeah, that's the guy that's I'm in.
Yeah. So I don't have a bigger picture of this, and I'm afraid to try to enlarge it because I'm not that good. But no, yeah, maybe. Anyway, back here at the Coca-Cola plant would be right here. Tarkett would be here. Fire training station, railroad. Here's how he's kind of proposed it to be laid out, where you come in this way. The transfer station will actually be on the back part by Tarkett. That way it gives us a view of it from the building. It kind of puts it back there behind Tarkett, another industry. Coca-Cola's actually right in here. And so he's proposing to come in with scales here for people to weigh in and out. The traffic will flow, garbage trucks or whoever will bring stuff here. The big trucks will come in behind it, come under it. Big important thing was having a straightaway to come in rather than angles. Pull that trailer truck under there. You store your trailer trucks here. You got a convenience center is here, public drop off. So while we're open, if your freezer dies and you bring stuff in, you can pull your truck up there and throw it in the dumpsters or roll off right there, keep you from having to get up in there where the action
So
is.
the road that you're gonna vacate is right there in the.
It's gonna be
Right there.
right here,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, and then this is the air curtain burner. So we'll have, this traffic will flow around, we'll have it probably in the middle, not exactly sure where it'll be placed, but it'll sit there and do its thing.
And you can dump straight into it, or how?
No, you'll dump on the sides of it and an excavator will feed it, and it'll go pretty quick. It'll burn it pretty quick without any smoke. So that's a preliminary layout. Right now, we're fine tuning that, have not started, actually the architects are just starting to
So
design
is
the
that,
actual
that's
transfer
similar to
station.
the building we looked at in Lauderdale
It
County?
is, yeah.
But you're talking about having enclosed, close the doors or not?
We're gonna get a little closer and see, how we feel about that. We're proposing stuff like screening. In other words, we're coming back with big old arborvitaes or whatever they call them and so forth up through there to kind of screen this off. Any questions on this part yet?
How close is another burner?
So Colbert County has one, but they hadn't permitted it because they hadn't got their landfill properly closed. Coleman has one, Hartselle has one. I'm trying to find some others. Jasper has one. Fix to go look at the one.
It could
in
be a
Jasper.
source of revenue.
No. Now the revenue, I do plan on charging the same tipping fee for brush that comes in that I'm charging at the landfill now. So in other words, $40 a ton for the brush you bring in. It's about a 98% reduction in size. So from a log to ash, about 98% reduction.
So have you been to the one in Hartselle?
I have not,
You haven't been to their facility at all?
no. I've been in their facility. I hadn't been since they put that air curtain burner in.
So you might want, the council might want to go out and look at that transfer station just to see.
Lauderdale County? Yeah.
I thought it's pretty, pretty interesting operation.
Sure. We can
Drive
make that
over
happen.
it, it dumps underneath it.
We could do that as a public works group.
Okay.
I think that, and I think the thing when you think of the smell, but there was no smell.
Yeah, they do a great job at Lauderdale County of theirs. And some are not as neat.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mayor, thank you. David, will you get with Tom and see
I
if
will.
we can go out there?
You think we do a lunchtime visit?
If that works for him, I'm not sure what his plans and schedule are, but
So I would assume, are you saying that would go underneath it back here? So this is obviously gonna go up a hill here.
Yeah, there'll be some elevation
To
change
be able to
there.
go in there and
Put a
drop it.
trailer underneath it.
To
and
get a better
trucks will
picture of
back
how you
up.
drop it in there.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Let me see what else I got.
So when will the engineering plans come back for you?
For the transfer station, I haven't seen anything preliminarily yet, but I do expect, it won't be long. You know, like I said, this is site layout really is what they're working on. They're doing that out of their Huntsville office. And then they'll have their architect, wherever he may be, do that part of it.
And so how will that affect your dirt moving?
I don't know yet. Once they lay it out, do the topography and all, we'll see where the dirt is gonna,
Gonna transfer?
how it's gonna all fit in there. There'll be some elevation difference, obviously, to get that truck in there, and then we got the sewer connections and all, so all this stuff will go to sewer. I'm gonna add a wash station too.
But where you take, you're gonna remove some dirt and take it to cover at the landfill.
I'm not gonna be in a hurry to remove any dirt from out there because I've got all the UNA dirt at the landfill. I don't know if you've been out there, but we probably have, I'm guessing 4 or 5 years worth that they brought us and they're not done. So I'm not buying any dirt for a while unless it's topsoil. Cause if you go to,
How much was that dirt worth?
oh, millions from UNA? Yeah, so if we bought it, it'd be millions of dollars worth of dirt. And it's, I mean, it's, if you go out to the club and look, you can see how tall the pile is out there.
Good thing we had that dirt.
Yeah, it's, and they're not done, so there's still, more to be cut, but we got it from the dorm and in the football stadium, so. All right, I'm on fire here.
I mean, don't let me put you
Household Hazardous
out.
Waste Day is coming together, so like maybe a June date, the county is gonna give us some money, hopefully, and sponsor this with us and work this with us, where people in Florence and the county can bring their stuff, household hazardous waste such as paint and thinners, old gasoline, motor oil, whatever they want, to the Coliseum and get rid of it safely and
It
securely.
was an amazing event last year.
It was very popular.
Yeah, it was really popular, it was about 2 years.
Even had a guy fussing because the line was so long.
All right, fuel station's up and going. We got one little thing left and it'll be perfectly functional with a swipe your ID, the gate will open and off you go after hours. It's open during the day. And so we'll be shutting down the street department fuel thing and then we'll decide the fate of the Railroad Avenue property, which I don't know what we're gonna do with it. We just may sit on it for a while and store stuff. Electricity's interested in it, Park and Rec is interested in it, but ain't got that far yet. Okay, I think I'm good.
We'll have to decide about that.
Yeah, we'll have to, decide what that's gonna look like, but I don't know.
How soon will that happen?
The fuel well, my plan is to shut the fuel station down and I'm gonna auction off those components that may have a value. And then, we've got some stuff down there that we're storing, gravel, things like that. Once we use that up, then we'll determine what we wanna do with it as
So on the side of the fueling station,
the new one.
you got places for, I know you got the salt inside that building, but down that other end, you got for gravel or?
Yeah, we'll move a lot of stuff down there over time. So probably end up moving the salt also, it's too close to that fuel station now. So.
All right, good. Thank you, David, that was a lot.
That was a lot, I'm sorry.
No, you were very clear with us when you asked for this meeting that it was a few things, so thank you for that. We are at 12:44, and Bill, I'm gonna go ahead and get to the other question that I had. And we as a Public Works Committee have to make a vote about the Keep the Shoals Beautiful. The representatives from that group have agreed to use the singular item with the turtle that we discussed, and to do so on a small number of covers, those waste. Storm drain covers, like we talked about, that aren't iron, but that are concrete. And so they need our permission to go ahead and move forward with that. They said they would do approximately 3 to 5 and see how those do. Do we have any additional questions related to that request?
Will they be someplace that, will they be seen?
Yeah,
Okay.
they were getting, they will let David know the 5 that they're going to choose, David and Todd, because Todd, you were in that meeting. And then, we will work with them on those 5.
Okay.
Was there, I can't remember, was there a cost?
No, not a cost to the city,
So we're gonna have to take that to the council.
but they needed to know that we were in agreement that this is what they wanted to do.
Okay.
Do I have that in the form of a motion?
Yes.
A second? All in favor? Thank you. Okay,
But we'll have to go to the council.
it will not, no, sir, because there is no expenditure of funds, and we cleared that up that day. I will let Rachel know to communicate that to keep the shows beautiful. Bill, you and Melissa and a few others in the city have been part of an email thread related to Hermitage Drive and the width of Hermitage from Rickwood to Helton. And the question is if we can narrow it to include bike lanes or some other anti-speeding devices that will keep the speed minimal in that area. And that is District 4, so I am bringing that to us today.
Yes, well, we discussed that in our office, and yes, there's a street that, is pretty wide. I think both lanes are 15 feet. But, I don't really know of any problems we've ever had with it before. Now, to be candid, the speed limit is 35, and, the average car, I guess, is, well, it's going about 42 miles per hour. But I don't really know if that's a whole lot different than what happens elsewhere in the city. But yeah, I have looked at Mr. Rowe, his stuff, and, he's got, a couple of good points, but I'm not sure, if it's 15 feet, 11 feet seems kind of tight for me for, cars going that fast, and, and Todd and Chase, they may disagree, but, I think what he's asking for is that, if you could make it an 11-foot on both sides, that then you'd have enough room to have, a bike lane. Of course, having a bike lane when a lot of vehicles may be going, real fast, like 42 miles per hour. I don't know if that's a good idea. Todd, you got any thoughts on it?
And just the consistency of it too. I mean, you can have a bike lane, and we want to make sure that bike lane is. I mean, the city does have a bike path plan, and as well, and we just want to make sure that we're not just trying to
Squeeze
fit a solution because most places where we come up with solutions like this, it is a planned, thought out, engineered process there. So the existing rest of Hermitage Drive is not that way. There's last thing you want to be is on the bike path, and it's
Stop. At a very busy intersection.
or in an area too to where it is not a lot of central locations, that need a bike path there.
I got hit by a truck on a bike on that road. Sorry.
It's Rickwood to Helton, so the width of the lane is what the individual is suggesting, is creating a situation for people to go faster than the speed limit, and then creates a safety concern.
But Rickwood to Helton, I don't understand.
Rickwood, Hermitage at Rickwood.
Oh, okay.
to Hilton. Yes. So when was the last time we had a traffic study on that street?
I don't know. I mean, we ask, somebody with the police department to go out there and check. And at that time, they reported back to us what the speed was.
That average of 42 miles an hour? We just don't know how long ago that was.
Yeah, that was probably, about 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, okay, so that's relatively new
Yeah.
data. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that
It was per the, I mean, that traffic study that when we let the PD know, it was because of the,
So I would ask then if someone from engineering would respond to the latest email from the resident to make sure that he is aware. And if we do, what I'm hearing you all say is we don't have a plan for that corridor of Hermitage. Is that right?
Well, I think I'd like to get some other opinions from, people that really specialize in traffic engineering about that, but,
So
I hate to go more narrow than a 12-foot lane, and I don't know how Todd feels about it. We discussed it a little bit, but not a whole lot. But, if you go with a 12-foot lane, you're not gonna have 4 feet for a bike lane. Now, I guess you could go with an 11-foot lane, but,
So one of the things I've noticed on that part of Hermitage is that there's no line at the side of the road.
right.
So would just simply having that be a deterrent? Because it has the visual aspect of narrowing a lane.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about that too. I mean, we talked about doing it. Of course, I've kind of taken a step back, when he made the comment, and I think it's some kind of correspondence between us that it need, that you could have a 4-foot lane for bikes. And part of me, and I may be just, overreacting, but, the idea of, having a 4-foot lane, where people, had a practice of going over 40 miles per hour. I mean, I would feel a lot more comfortable if we were taking just a residential area and just creating, a lane that was that wide than, where, someplace where they've got 6,000 plus vehicles per day and they're going a lot faster.
and we've got wide streets like that all over town. I mean, this isn't the only wide street that we have. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
And, no, and to your point there, I mean, if we did put an outside stripe there, we would probably have it striped as a wide lane, because that would, if you, let's say we just go in and put a stripe at 12 foot, then you have this mystery 4-foot area over here of the public is, what is this area? Is it for, don't want to give any kind of safe, hey, I could walk here, I could do something here. We want to make sure that we're not giving any kind of pedestrian anything false hope there as well.
So somebody needs to respond, and I'm not the expert in that, but I also am curious to see what we need to suggest. And Bill, you mentioned the idea of talking to others who are experts in this. I don't want to put the onus on you, but I'm also willing to say, hey, we had a public works meeting today, we discussed this, and Mr. Batson is going to reach out to other experts in this area, but only if we're actually gonna do that. I don't wanna say something that we don't have an intention of following up on.
No, it's,
I think that's fair. I can make, I'd like to hold off on contacting, Mr. Rowe, but, I think that's his name.
It is, yes, sir.
But, I'd like to do some checking with other folks, as far as what they would think about a lane like that. But again, it's carrying a lot of traffic.
It does.
I mean, it's, we had them check, and And I think it was right around 6,000 vehicles a day.
Mhm.
And that's a lot.
I mean, I drive that road back and forth at least once a day, 7 days a week, almost. And I'd hate to know with the speed I was riding a bike on the side of that road. And maybe on the side of the houses, but on that other side, there's nothing. You just ride out into the grass. Into the end, there's no curb.
Houses on both sides.
I'm just talking about Rickwood.
Oh, we're talking Hermitage, not Rickwood. It's
Hermitage
Hermitage
from
between
Rickwood to
Rickwood to
Helton.
Helton.
Two houses.
Okay, now I finally got it.
Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, and that's something like I said, we can get together and can get a message back to the person there and let them know what our response is going to be.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and respond to him because we did meet today and let him know. I've already discussed that we wanna come back in about 2 weeks to, talk through the tree situation. Justin, David, Andy had to leave. Do we think we could have some more information at that point? Does that give you time to contact the other
Yeah.
folks?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Jimmy, Bill, do y'all agree with that? Okay, I hate to have things linger, but this is one of those things, Bill, I never even considered that there would be other people who could have other ideas and thoughts about it, so I appreciate the willingness to reach out to phone a friend, as it were. Call the experts, okay. All right, is there anything that you needed to share today?
Yeah, but I was gonna turn it over to Todd, just for an update on the bridge.
Oh, on the
We
bridge.
talked about it this
Yes.
morning.
Got contacted with Garber Engineering, who's doing the design on the Pine Street Bridge. I think the last meeting, y'all remember, we had just had a meeting with the AlDOT, working out the final design process. There was a few different sections of the bridge that they needed AlDOT's sign off on before they finished. We should have plans in hand ready for that to go out to bid hopefully by the end of next week.
Oh.
So that is that was the latest email I've got. So I'm hoping he's going to be able to hold to that. So we should have something to go out for that design. They still feel like it's in that. We should have prices between $200,000 to $300,000 for that. They still feel confident in their estimates. The one question we did have, there was a couple of temporary supports. If there may be some temporary closures of the bridge during a few sections of construction, but we'll be able to work that out and be able to give plenty of notification for that. So kind of putting the cart before the horse there.
How
So
long do you think those will be closed?
it should be closed.
Days or weeks?
Days. At this point, because I was kind of surprised too, the only time, and it's really going to be contractor dependent, the only time it should be closed is when they're actually lifting up the bridge to put the temporary supports. It's crazy. It is.
Yeah.
Like some contractors, I think they can still have traffic on it when I don't know. So that was when the engineer says, what do we want to do with that? So that the only time it may be closed is when they're lifting it up to get those temporary supports set and then sit back down. So and then once it's on the temporary supports, they feel confident. I mean, obviously they'll have traffic back on it. So we're talking, I do not know the length of that, but it would be, obviously they can't jack it up quickly, it has to be a slow process.
So, when we met about it, you had the pictures and all that.
Yes. Mhm.
So, all right, if we're going north on Pine Street, that section on the other side of, I guess that's is that Circular Avenue,
Circular Drive?
Yes.
under there, I know with all this, the stadium and the grade, you're gonna be able to go under it like you can on the other side, on the south side.
Now, I forget, I haven't seen all the plans on the UNA portion of that.
It's not gonna get to that.
It's not, no, we're working on the south side of the bridge. Where
Okay.
there's picnic tables, there's a walkway now. It is that,
It won't get that far north across.
no, we'll just hit the first two bends there. So,
So when you say it's gonna be let,
well, we should have plans and then they'll have documents ready for us to put out for bid. So
Okay.
that is my next question. If we're gonna have a public works in 2 weeks, we could bring that back then. I didn't know if that is something that y'all will want to see the plans before it goes before full council, or is that something that once we get them, if we just wanna bring that to council, how do we want to handle that going forward?
please weigh in, Jimmy, Bill. It would be my recommendation that because it started here and that we have followed the process, and if we're gonna meet in 2 weeks, it should fall right after the next council meeting. So you would still be able to get that on the second May meeting.
Yes.
You good with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Alright, so as soon as we get those, we'll have it at the next Public Works, and at that point on, then we'll go through the process of getting with purchasing and getting putting that out for bid then. But before we do that, y'all will see it first.
Okay, that sounds great. I'll talk to Kathy about getting us on the next meeting, and, Bill had one thing too about his intersection in Lakeside Highlands.
Yes.
So, that's,
All the paint's gone. You know, it's been a while.
well, and so after the last meeting, Chase and I went out and we came up, went out, looked at it, surveyed it. Chase came up with a couple of different designs. There was an email sent, because that was that after we got the design, we sent out an email before we went forward, because it is work that the street department can do. And I guess that's where we were waiting on, because I think thanks for the work, but we never got hey, let's do it, this looks good. That was kind of what we were waiting on, was to make sure that Public Works was, that y'all were good with that design. And
I didn't know that I saw it.
I saw it.
it was through, and that's why it's
Matter of
fixated.
fact, they left this meeting and drove to the intersection, and I drove by and they were there laying it out.
So,
Do
Immediately.
you like the design?
Oh, yeah.
So you're pleased?
Mhm.
Do you have any questions or concerns?
We covered it that day.
okay, but, so if we're good, we just did not want to proceed with that, that's, cause it is, I mean, like I said, it's all street department work, there's a couple of trees, just for y'all that, there's a lot of the issues, that lane, there's tree roots growing in the, road, street departments will get those out, we'll have to see how the trees fare at that point, but, if that's the case, then we can get with the, street department and see when they can get that on there for them to do the work on that. So,
Okay.
we'll go forward with that design then.
I've started, I took the list of streets that are gonna be paved, and I've started videoing those. It's a little embarrassing to see what's gonna be paved in Broadway Street. I'm hoping that was just an oversight, and Broadway Street was on the list, it was just an oversight, because it'd really be embarrassing if I bring these videos to what the streets look like that are being repaved, and then a major thoroughfare that's not. So you said it was probably an oversight. Do you think it's an oversight?
No, to be, I called and talked to the guys that were doing it. And basically, they graded, and I'll stand by to them, but basically, they graded everything that just above, the street you're talking about. But when I asked where the street was, your street,
Yeah,
in
well,
relation to the.
It's not my street, it's just
Well,
District 3 street.
Yeah, it's, and consider this, that, when we, grade these streets, if they're like Broadway, there are sections of Broadway that are wider. So, so basically, the widest section was number 1, the next widest, I think, was number 2, and the third, the last one was, because it goes a long way and it gets more narrow as you go down Broadway. But that was, I asked the inspectors where it was, and they said, in order 1, 2, and 3, it was right behind the very last street that we paved. So, I mean, it was up there high, but, and I talked to him about it, and he said, we looked at it and we really thought the other streets were just a little bit above them, but they're right behind it. And he told me at the time that, there's always a possibility that there may be some money left over. And if that's the case, then you could do at least, part of one of those streets. But, and I asked him what was the probability of that, and he said, well, historically, about 30, 33, 30, about a third of it, about that much, we probably would have the funds to pay for it. About once every 3 years, they're able to pay for another street because, just different factors come up, when they're making assumptions when they're grading the street out, and sometimes it's just not quite as bad as they thought. So, and I know that doesn't help you out a whole lot, but, I did want to tell you that it was the next section of streets that were on the list.
Okay, so I'll just continue videoing the streets being paved and offer a comparison.
Well, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, one other thing.
Okay.
So many of these projects have taken a long time, and let's see, which one is it? Bentley Chevrolet. We focused on that a lot, and the estimated cost for it was right around $420,000. And I guess, what I need to know is, do we have the funds at this particular point in time? And this thing has gone on for about 2.5 years. And, we'd like to fix it, because, we finally got everything in and just wanted to run it by y'all.
Yes, we have had that on our agenda for a very long time. Unfortunately, Bill, I can't answer the question as if we have the money. That's something that would have to come from finance, simply because we are not the keepers of that. The justification is there, the information is there, and the data to support the project is there, but I simply have to ask you to refer that to finance on this one.
Well, I mean,
We have approved
I knew
that
we'd have to go to
project as
finance.
a committee,
A long time.
so, I have seen and gotten no information that you have presented to us to bring it back,
Okay.
to have that vote be changed. And so you still have that positive vote from us, it was affirmative,
Right.
to move forward with it and take that then to the finance committee to determine money.
Oh, I knew I had to go with that.
Yes,
And
sir.
I'm not aware we've set that money aside for that project that I'm aware of.
So,
Well, we started working on it 2.5 to 3 years ago. So I guess we'll find out.
Okay.
Remind us of what the problem is. I know
There
you've been
was-
down there and you
yeah,
told us, but
Yeah,
it's
I'll
just been a
tell
long
you,
time.
where Bentley Chevrolet is.
Yes.
There was a portion of it that was on the state right of way. And the state came in there and fixed that. And one of my very recent conversations, I was asking, the guy that does a lot of this work, Paul Harrelson, and I don't know whether nobody's gotten the bid yet or anything like that. And I asked him because there's another pipe, Florence Square, that's in bad shape. But, I asked him which one was the worst, and he didn't hesitate. He said, you know, the one at the old mill, the Stevenson place. He said, that's the one that you ought to do first, you know, and there's no, you know, competition on that at all. And, you know, of course, we've got Florence Square out there too, but, you know, the way I looked at it, you know, I talked to a contractor, and he said, you know, that could probably be shored up, you know, but if you do any one of these, it needs to be, you know, the one we're talking about.
And that was the shotcrete underneath there.
Yeah.
All right.
So you want him to follow through with getting y'all a tour at the,
Yeah, we discussed that. Yeah, I've got that noted. He's gonna follow up with Tom to see what works best for them and this group to go see the Lauderdale County Transfer
I've
Station.
been there. I know all about it.
If you don't wanna go for
Okay.
that reason, feel free, but I wanted to make it available to the whole committee.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What time frame y'all looking at? What time of day would work? Cause they'll be wild. We can go about any time, I'm sure.
I would think whatever suits them best, get maybe a few opportunities, say, you know, this day at this time or this day. Lunch is always better, or the end of the day is always better for me.
The
the
end of the day,
entire
like,
council, the entire council.
we'll do lunch.
Well, I was just gonna say Public Works, but if you want the entire council to
I
go,
think
I'm
it'd be
happy
helpful
to
to
open
see
it up
I think
and,
it'd be helpful then to see it.
it's fine with, it's
Because we're already
totally-
moving that direction.
Yes. Okay, we are 10 minutes late. We usually try to wrap up in an hour. Does anyone have anything else before we adjourn? Thank you all very, very much, and be on the lookout for your invitation in a couple of weeks.